Ladies, there comes a moment when you realize you are not meant to chase. Not love, not validation, not anyone's approval. The true power lies in your silence, your growth, your transformation. This is not the end, but the beginning of something extraordinary. When they walk away, you rise. When they forget your worth, you remember it. Because queens don't chase, they rule. Are you ready to claim your crown? Ladies, I need you to hear me out right now. If you're crying over a man who chose to walk away, stop. This isn't the end of your story. This is just the beginning. You see, when he leaves, it's not about what you've lost. It's about what you're about to gain. You can sit there, waiting for him to come back, begging for his attention, or you can rise. And trust me, he'll come back. But not because you begged, not because you fell apart. He'll come crawling back because of the transformation you're about to undergo. But here's the secret: disappear with dignity. 3 simple words, but they hold the power to shatter egos, rebuild self-worth, and make him regret like nothing else. In a world where everyone is loud, reactive, and desperate to prove their value, your silence becomes your most powerful tool. It's not weakness. No, it's strength. When someone walks out of your life, don't stand at the door crying and begging them to stay. Don't pour your heart out in text messages, waiting for validation. Walk away with elegance, with grace, with power. Do you want to know what true strength looks like? It looks like walking away without a word, without an apology, without begging. Like a queen, standing tall and rising above the chaos. When you disappear, the entire world will feel your absence. This, my dear, is how you regain your power. Imagine this: a girl in college, ghosted by her boyfriend after 2 years of being together. The usual reaction would be to beg for answers, send multiple texts, or let her emotions spill all over social media. But she didn't do that. Instead, she disappeared. She blocked him. She focused on herself, on her studies, on her health, on her future. She lost weight, she landed her dream internship, and she began to glow in a way that no one could ignore. A year later, at a mutual event, she saw him. He didn't approach her. He just stared from across the room, his eyes wide with disbelief. Why? Because her silence had done the unthinkable. It had rewritten her value. It was no longer about begging or pleading. Her transformation, her strength, her resilience screamed louder than any word ever could. And when he saw her, all he could do was wonder, how did I lose her? This is the power of disappearing with dignity. It's not about revenge. It's not about making them regret their choices. It's about making a statement. That statement is, I am enough, and I don't need anyone to see my worth for it to exist. When you choose silence over explanation, you're telling the universe that you value yourself more than you value their validation. And trust me, when you do this, the world will take notice. There's another woman who knows the weight of abandonment, a single mom left when she needed support the most. No drama, no begging, no emotional posts on social media. She went to work, 2 jobs, just to keep her head above water. She worked tirelessly to put her child through school, to build a home from scratch, and to start her own business. 2 years later, that same man wanted to come back. But why? Was it love? No, it wasn't love. It was ego. It was his realization of what she had become while he was busy dismissing her. She didn't need his validation. She had results. She didn't need revenge. She had a life that he couldn't even dream of. She had risen. She had built. And now, when he came back, she looked at him and thought, I don't need you. I never did. This is the power of walking away, not to punish, not to prove a point, but to heal, to rediscover your strength. You want to shake someone's soul? Don't shout, don't post, don't rant, don't beg, just disappear. Focus on yourself, reinvent yourself, and let your silence become the mirror to the person who left. Because nothing haunts someone more than seeing the person they thought couldn't live without them thriving without them. When someone leaves, don't chase them. Instead, chase your dreams. Chase your happiness. Chase your personal growth. That's when they'll feel your absence the most. That's when they'll regret walking away. Not because you begged for them to come back, But because you became everything they thought they could break, you don't need to announce your comeback. Let your glow do the talking. Let your success, your growth, and your unshakable peace make all the noise. Think about this. You've just been through heartbreak. The kind of heartbreak that feels like your entire world is crumbling. You've been there, wondering if you'll ever heal, if you'll ever be able to move on. But then, instead of collapsing under the weight of that pain, you choose to rise. You sign up for therapy. You hit the gym. You start doing things that nurture your soul and body. Over time, the changes are visible. You start glowing, not just in your appearance, but in your energy. Your presence shifts. Your confidence becomes unshakable. The man who once ghosted you comes back, trying to rekindle what was lost. But by now, you don't even consider replying. Why? Because you've already leveled up. You've healed. You've grown. This is your glow up. It's not just about looks. It's about healing. It's about confidence. It's about becoming the woman you were always meant to be. A woman who gets cheated on during her engagement isn't expected to rise. She's supposed to fall apart, wallow in self-pity, and disappear from the world. But instead, she doesn't crumble. She becomes stronger. She hires a personal trainer, starts modeling, and even launches her own skincare brand. She turns her pain into empowerment, using her story to inspire and empower women everywhere. This isn't revenge. This is reinvention. This is a glow up. This is what happens when you stop chasing validation from someone else and start feeding your own soul. You become so powerful that your past can no longer define you. You stop waiting for someone to love you. Instead, you love yourself like you've never done before. Sometimes the glow up isn't loud. It's subtle. It's quiet. A single mom working 3 jobs at night, building her future while everyone else sleeps. She gets promoted, buys her own car, her own house. She doesn't need anyone's approval. She doesn't need validation. Her glow up isn't just about looks. It's about strength. It's about resilience. It's about refusing to settle for less than she deserves. And as she continues to grow, she becomes a force that no one can ignore. Her glow doesn't just come from the outside. It radiates from within. Here's the truth: your glow up isn't just for him. It's for you. It's about realizing that heartbreak doesn't define you. Rejection doesn't determine your worth. When you embrace this truth, that's when the glow begins. That's when the transformation starts. Take a woman who just ended a long-term relationship. She gave everything to that man, her time, her love, her loyalty. But when he left, it almost destroyed her. Instead of drowning in that pain, she used it as fuel. She focused on her healing. She focused on herself. And now, she's not just a shadow of who she once was. She's a powerful, radiant woman who doesn't need anyone to see her worth. She already knows it. When you stop explaining your worth to others, something shifts. Suddenly, people begin to wonder, what changed? What made her so unshakable? The moment you stop chasing, stop begging, stop trying to fit yourself into someone else's mold, you begin to radiate a peace that's unmatched. And let me tell you, peace is powerful. Imagine a woman who's always tried to prove herself, always been there for the people who never really valued her. She gave her all, but in return, they gave her crumbs. One day, she decided she wasn't going to chase anymore. She stopped answering late-night texts. She stopped bending over backward for people who never showed up for her. She learned the hard way that the most powerful thing you can do is value yourself first. And when she started setting boundaries, when she started walking away from the people who drained her, her life transformed. Her peace became her power, and suddenly, everyone who had taken her for granted noticed. But by then, it was too late. The most important thing a woman can do is rewrite her own narrative. Stop waiting for someone else to write your story. Stop letting your past define you. And start building the life you deserve. There's a woman who kept giving second chances to a man who couldn't see her value. He never really committed, always kept her on the sidelines, and never truly appreciated her. But one day, she realized that she was the one who had been holding herself back. She was the one who had been waiting for someone else to choose her. So she took a step back. She didn't beg. She didn't chase. She focused on her own growth. She became the woman she always wanted to be. And when he came back, looking for the same attention he used to get, she didn't even flinch. She had moved on. She had leveled up. And that's when he realized what he had lost. But by then, it was no longer about him. It was about her, about the woman she had become. You've been hurt. You've been betrayed. You've been broken. But the moment you choose to heal, that's when your true transformation begins. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the pain. It doesn't mean excusing the behavior of others. It simply means that you're ready to move forward. You're ready to stop letting your past hold you hostage. There's a woman who forgave a man who hurt her deeply. She didn't forgive him for him. She forgave him for herself. She realized that holding on to resentment was only keeping her stuck. So she let it go. She let go of the anger, the pain, the fear. She didn't do it for him. She did it for her own peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing someone back into your life. It doesn't mean reopening old wounds. It simply means that you're ready to heal, ready to move forward without dragging the weight of the past with you. The most powerful thing a woman can do is choose herself. It's not about waiting for someone else to choose you. It's about saying, I am enough. I always have been. There's a girl who used to cry herself to sleep, wondering why he didn't love her the way she loved him. She tried everything, changed herself, gave more, compromised, but nothing worked. One day, she stopped. She stopped chasing. She stopped changing herself for someone who couldn't see her worth. And as she stopped trying to fit herself into someone else's life, she began to fit perfectly into her own. That's when the magic happened. That's when the glow up started. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't instant. But over time, she began to shine so brightly that no one could ignore her. Not because she was trying to prove anything, but because she realized her own worth. And that was the most powerful thing she could ever do. When you stop giving your energy to the wrong people, something extraordinary happens. Your energy begins to shift. It becomes yours again. No more draining yourself to please others. No more sacrificing your peace to make someone feel comfortable. It's time to take that energy and invest it in yourself. Imagine a woman who used to pour all her energy into someone who never gave her the same in return. She gave him her time, her patience, her love, but she was always met with confusion, inconsistency, and disappointment. One day, she realized that the more she gave, the less she received. So, she stopped. She stopped feeding into the cycle. Instead, she started focusing on herself. She picked up new hobbies, took on new challenges, and started to invest in her own growth. Slowly but surely, her energy shifted. She became magnetic, not because she was trying to attract anyone, but because she was finally giving that energy back to herself. Being unavailable doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean trying to make someone jealous or upset. It means understanding your own worth and recognizing when it's time to stop giving someone access to your life who doesn't appreciate it. There was a woman who had always been available to a man who treated her like an option. Whenever he wanted attention, she was there. Whenever he wanted comfort, she was there. But over time, she realized that she was constantly giving him her energy while he gave her nothing in return. So, she made herself unavailable. She didn't send the late-night texts. She didn't keep checking his social media. She didn't chase him anymore. And do you know what happened? His ego started to starve. He noticed her absence and he wondered, where did she go? But by then, it was too late. She had moved on. She had reclaimed her power, and he was left wondering what happened to the woman he once had. The moment you choose yourself is the moment everything changes. You stop waiting for someone else to choose you. You stop measuring your worth by how much someone else values you. You realize that you are enough, exactly as you are. There's a woman who spent years giving everything to others, hoping that one day she would be chosen. She did everything she could to be loved, to be seen, to be wanted, but in the end, she was left feeling empty, unfulfilled, and unseen. One day, she stopped. She stopped chasing. She stopped giving so much of herself to others. She started choosing herself. She took the time to understand what she needed, what she loved, and what truly made her happy. And that's when her life started to change. Not because someone else chose her, but because she finally chose herself. You don't need closure from anyone to heal. You don't need someone else's apology, their validation, or their explanation to move on. Healing begins when you decide that you no longer need answers. You no longer need to understand why they did what they did. There's a woman who spent years chasing closure from someone who could never give it to her. She waited for an apology, for answers, for some form of resolution, but it never came. One day, she decided to stop waiting. She decided to heal without it. She didn't need to know why he left, why he cheated, or why he never truly cared. She chose to move forward even without closure. And as she did, she began to heal in a way she never thought possible. She realized that true closure doesn't come from others. It comes from within. There is a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that the hardest part isn't walking away. It's letting go of the story she told herself about who she was with someone. The real freedom comes when you stop tying your identity to someone who couldn't see your worth. A woman once held on to a relationship, thinking that if she tried harder, if she loved more, things would change. She made excuses for his behavior, and every time he let her down, she told herself it wasn't his fault. But one day, she stopped. She let go of the person she thought she had to be for him. She let go of the need to prove herself. And as soon as she did, she felt the weight lift off her shoulders. She wasn't broken anymore. She was free. Free to rebuild, free to heal, and free to become the woman she had always been meant to be. When she let go, she let life flow through her once again, and the possibilities became endless. When you stop chasing love, you begin to understand what true love really is. It's not about looking for someone to complete you. It's about realizing that you're already whole. The moment you stop searching for love outside yourself, you start to find it within. There's a woman who used to jump from relationship to relationship, always chasing the idea of love. She thought that love would fill the void she felt inside. But every time she found someone, she only ended up feeling more empty. She was always searching for something to fix her, but never realized that the only thing she needed to fix was her own relationship with herself. Then, one day, she stopped chasing love. She started dating herself. She spent time getting to know who she truly was. She learned to love herself fiercely, and when that happened, love found her in ways she had never imagined. Not because she chased it, but because she became the kind of woman who no longer needed it to feel complete. You are the author of your own story. It's time to stop letting others dictate the narrative of your life. A woman who constantly waited for someone else to define her found herself stuck in a cycle of disappointment. She kept living for other people, chasing validation, and looking for someone else to tell her she was worth it. But one day, she realized she was the only one who had the power to write her own story. So she picked up the pen and began to rewrite it. She stopped waiting for someone to rescue her, and she became her own hero. She started making choices that aligned with her dreams, her values, and her worth. And as she rewrote her story, she discovered a power within herself that she never knew existed. She was no longer defined by the past. She was no longer bound by the expectations of others. She was free, and the world became her canvas. There is a strength in moving on that most people will never understand. It's not about forgetting or pretending the pain never happened. It's about choosing to grow, to move forward, and to rise above the things that tried to hold you down. A woman who once thought she couldn't live without someone realized that the hardest part was not losing them. It was finding the strength to let go. She used to look at her phone, hoping for a message, waiting for the apology that never came. But one day, she realized that her life could not move forward if she kept looking back. So, she took the brave step of moving on. And as she did, she began to see that the life she was meant to have was waiting for her all along. Moving on wasn't about abandoning her love. It was about embracing herself fully and choosing a future where she no longer relied on someone else to define her worth. When you stop letting your past define your future, you unlock the power of rebirth. Every painful experience, every heartbreak, and every loss holds within it the seed of transformation. A woman who has gone through betrayal, heartbreak, or failure has the unique opportunity to reinvent herself. She may have been left broken, discarded, and betrayed, but inside of her, there's a fire waiting to be lit. One day, she decides to rise from the ashes. She sheds the old skin, the one that was bruised, hurt, and defeated, and steps into a new version of herself. This version is fierce, confident, and unafraid of her own power. Her rebirth doesn't happen overnight, but as time passes, she starts to see the changes. She becomes stronger, she becomes unbreakable, and she realizes that she's not just surviving, she's thriving. Every scar, every wound is a reminder of how far she's come and how much more she's capable of. There's power in silence that many don't understand. The world tells you that you need to shout, to scream, to fight for your worth. But the quietest people often have the most profound strength. There's a woman who spent years trying to prove her worth to others, constantly explaining herself and seeking validation. But she came to realize that the loudest statement she could make was not through words, but through her silence. When she stopped speaking to people who didn't value her, when she stopped chasing the approval of those who couldn't see her worth, her life began to change. Her silence became her power. It wasn't a silence of defeat, but one of strength, purpose, and dignity. As she embraced this silence, she became untouchable. She didn't need to explain herself anymore. The world could see her strength, her value, and her beauty, without her ever having to say a word. Setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about honoring your worth. A woman who has been hurt by others often feels the need to constantly prove herself, to allow people into her life, even if they don't deserve a seat at her table. But one day, she realizes that she doesn't have to make excuses for why she's not available to toxic people anymore. She starts setting clear boundaries. She says no when she means it, and yes when she truly wants to. She stops letting people drain her energy and starts protecting her peace. She understands that boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations to love and respect herself. And when she begins to set these boundaries, her life changes. People start respecting her more, and the ones who don't, they no longer have access to her energy. She is free, free to love herself fully, free to live without apology, free to reclaim her life. When you stop seeking validation from others, you reclaim your life. For years, many women seek approval, validation, and love from others. We chase compliments, we wait for praise, and we bend over backward to be accepted. But there comes a moment when you realize that no external validation will ever be enough if you don't validate yourself first. A woman once lived her life trying to please everyone. She thought if she was liked, accepted, and praised, she would feel worthy. But the more she gave, the less she felt. She always felt empty, waiting for others to fill her cup. One day she stopped. She stopped looking for validation outside herself. She started validating herself. She started praising her own achievements, celebrating her own victories, and loving herself unapologetically. And that's when she began to shine in ways she never thought possible. She didn't need anyone's approval. She had her own. Now that you've reclaimed your power, embraced your worth, and risen from the ashes of the past, it's time for you to make the final shift. The most powerful thing a woman can do is stop chasing what walks away and instead focus on the life she's building for herself. You've learned that your worth doesn't depend on anyone's recognition. You've learned that your value doesn't come from what you do for others, but from how you choose to love yourself. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who didn't deserve your energy. And now you are ready to rise to the next level. Your transformation is complete. It's time to walk forward with power, with grace, and with the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you deserve. If you found this journey empowering, give it a like and make sure to check out our channel for more inspiring videos that will help you continue on the path to self-love and transformation. You've got this, Queen. Keep shining.